Let's look at some over-the-counter drugs that are now illegal. Advice to mothers. Are you broken in your rest by a sick child suffering with the pain of cutting teeth? Try Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup, which contains 65 grams of morphine. That baby won't be crying about teething pain if they're unconscious. Have a toothache? Try some cocaine, only 15 cents. That's pretty much a steal. Got asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, a bad cough? Fix your broken lungs with some heroin from Eli Lilly and Bayer? So this syrup is a mix of alcohol and opium, originally marketed to quiet, fussy babies, but adults can have a teaspoon as a treat. Vin Mariani is a cocaine-infused wine, marketed as an energy drink, and approved by the Pope. Preachers, public speakers, singers, and actors at the time consumed a lot of products with cocaine in them because it supposedly gave them a smoother voice, and you can't have stage fright if you're high as The most dangerous spy of World War II was a woman with a wooden leg. Virginia Hall was born into a wealthy Baltimore family, but she rejected the idea of marrying into privilege and settling into the role of a wife and mother. She wanted to go do some crazy and the first crazy thing she did was shoot off her leg in a hunting accident. Wait a second. Virginia was living in France when the Germans invaded, but after the French surrendered, she went to London and joined Winston Churchill's Secret Service. They sent her back to France, where she established a resistance network. She was incredibly effective, which quickly caught the attention of the Gestapo. She was later forced to flee when she realized they were closing in on her. She went back for a second tour, and she returned with a vengeance. As D-Day approached, she armed and trained French resistance fighters for sabotage missions to pave the way for the Allied invasion. She destroyed bridges, communications, and key rail lines, all while operating undercover. She became the only civilian woman to be awarded a Distinguished Service Cross during World War II. Her response was, "Not bad for a girl from Baltimore." One time the Pope exploded. Riccardo Galeazzi Lizzi was an Italian physician who concocted an ingenious embalming method that involved coating the body in oils and wrapping it in cellophane like you would marinate a pork. And since he was Pope Pius XII's personal physician at the time of his death, he had special permissions to try this embalming technique on the Pope. A Pope marinade, if you will. However, Galeazzi Lizzi's embalming method did nothing to slow the process of decomposition. Gases were building up inside the Pope's body with no way to escape because it was entirely wrapped in plastic. They take the Pope's body out in public so that the faithful can pay their respects, and he blows the up right in front of the crowd. The chest cavity exploded, the nose and fingers fell off, the skin turned green. The Swiss guard were actually fainting from the stench. Galeazzi Lizzi was exiled from Vatican City, but not for the botched embalming. He was exiled for selling sensitive information to the media. One time the Shah of Iran tried to turn his army invisible with a magic soup. Sultan Hussein ascended to the throne knowing absolutely jack on the affairs of the country. On top of being extremely incompetent, he was also incredibly superstitious. When the capital city of Isfahan came under siege by an Afghan army in 1722, Hussein came up with the ultimate solution. He had a special soup made which contained 2 legs of a goat and 325 pea pods, boiled in water that was blessed by a virgin 325 times. He was convinced that if his troops drank this mystical soup, they would turn invisible.
So they died horribly, right?
Well, the city was starved into surrendering, and Hossein was imprisoned. When the Ottomans later tried to restore Hossein to the throne, the Afghans just chopped his head off and sent it to the Ottomans.
Seems like it went as well as expected.
Never buy invisibility from the soup store. The Chevalier d'Eon was a French soldier, spy, and diplomat who lived as a man for the first half of life and then began living as a woman at the age of 49. The Chevalier was born Charles Geneviève Louis Auguste André Timothée d'Eon de Beaumont, and with a name that spicy, you know some shit's gonna go down later in life. d'Eon was sent to London to negotiate a treaty to end the 7 Years' War, but refused to return to France. d'Eon made the claim that she was a woman and would only return if the French government recognized her as such. According to d'Eon, she had been raised as a boy because her father needed a son in order to gain an inheritance from his in-laws. French society is very familiar with the idea of women cross-dressing so they can serve in the military, so when the court was given this, they were just like, yeah, that sure f***ing happens sometimes, doesn't it? d'Eon gained celebrity status, and she made money by putting on fencing demonstrations wearing a black dress decked out in her military medals. Queen You're probably wondering, what in the hell is this godless abomination? This is the Magdeburg Unicorn, and it's considered to be one of the worst fossil reconstructions in history. This magnificent son of a bitch has been haunting the scientific community for several centuries. The Magdeburg Unicorn started out as a collection of fossils discovered in 1663, and a Prussian scientist named Otto von Guericke looked at it and went, "Yeah guys, that's a f***ing unicorn." Von Guericke created the 3D model you see on display at the Museum of Natural History in Magdeburg, but it gets a little weirder than that. There is also a 2D drawing of the unicorn that was created by another scientist, Gottfried Leibniz, and nobody knows for sure if the drawing came first or if the model came first. It's also unclear if the fossils even came from the same animal. The horn might be from a narwhal, the legs could be from a woolly mammoth, and the skull could be a woolly rhino. But if that's the case, how did the three of those animals get into one spot? Here's a few places where it is illegal to die. In 1999, the town of Lanjaron, Spain was facing the issue of an overcrowded cemetery. In response to being pressed by politicians to find a quick solution to a long-lasting problem, the mayor declared, "It, no one's allowed to die anymore." Many of the residents found this actually hilarious. But currently it is illegal to die until they get a new cemetery. I don't know what the f***'s going on with France, but there are like 3 towns that have all banned dying. The mayor of Les Lavandous banned death in 2000 after plans for a new cemetery were denied due to environmental concerns. Cugnon also made death illegal in 2007 for similar reasons, but were later granted permission to expand their local cemetery. Saint-Laurent followed suit in 2008 after they saw banning death worked pretty well in Cugnon's favor. I don't know what the punishment is for breaking the law, but I like to think the Grim Reaper gets pulled over by the cops every time he tries to enter town. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed! So an astronaut from the 16th century made it to the moon, but he did it in literally the funniest way possible. Wan Hu was a Chinese official who supposedly lived sometime between 2000 BCE and the 16th century. I know that's a ridiculously wide range of time, but as it turns out, stories of dudes blowing themselves the f*** up are timeless classics. I spoiled it. The legend goes that Wan Hu was an adventurer who wanted to take advantage of the latest Chinese fireworks technology and use it to send his whole up to the moon. He found a nice sturdy chair to which he attached 47 rockets. On the day of liftoff, he sat down in his chair, his servants lit the fuses, and then they all ran for cover. A huge explosion followed, and Wan and his chair were never seen again. There actually is a crater on the moon named after him, so in a way, mission accomplished. Rocket Man's blowing up his chair up here alone, am I right? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Here are 6 of my favorite demons from the Infernal Dictionary. Prince Stolas teaches astronomy, properties of plants, and the worth of precious stones. And he could probably tell you how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Marquis Amon looks like a nightmare, but his specialty is settling disagreements and making peace between enemies. Wait, holy he can do that? Can we have him as president? Apparently the most evil thing Ukobach has done is invent chicken tenders. King Paimon commands 200 legions, and some of them are angels, so this guy has connections. He's also described as having the face of a woman, and we love an androgynous king. This is Ribisol. And I'm not sure what's going on here, honestly. Grand Count Zabos rides around on a crocodile, and if you don't think that's the f***ing sickest thing you've ever heard, you need to leave right now. Wait, oh my god. Is he just Brownbeard from One Piece? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hi, Vibby here. Hope you've enjoyed this little compilation of all the shorts I made in 2023, and if you already saw the shorts back when they first came out, thanks for watching them again. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. All of the topics you saw in those shorts were chosen by my patrons, so if you want to get in on things like voting for upcoming videos, early videos, uncensored videos, a patrons-only chat, work-in-progress previews, and more, come join my page on patreon.com/aspacealienexplains. You can join at any time of the month thanks to the new subscription-style payment schedule, so there's no more need to wait until after the 1st to avoid getting double charged. There is now a free tier available, and if you join that, you'll get a notification in your inbox when I drop new videos or artwork publicly. If you'd like alternate ways to support the channel instead of Patreon, you can find links for that in the video description. I'd like to take this time to thank my honorary aliens on Patreon, who are indeed the Shadow Society running this channel. Not really, but maybe a just wants a good conspiracy theory. Shoutouts to my honorary alien, Airboy Steel on YouTube. If you'd like to check out his content, you can find a link to his channel in the description. Additional shoutouts go to Abu Kitty Chris, Andrew Littleton, Bionic Link, Greyman, and Shinare, as well as all the other honorary aliens you'll see in the scroll at the end of this video, so please stick around until then to see all of their names. Thank you so much for watching, and here come the honorary aliens!